Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today in deck number 722, we're going to keep on this Modern Horizons train with Zabaz, the Glimmerwasp. 1 mana Boros commander, or Thorhold, if you will. Now, one quick side note here. I have found a new Overshield, I call it. That's just because I played way too much Halo back in the day. But uh, the sleeve that it's in, I'll get. I'll show you more about that at the end. Um, but let's get into the deck. So for 1 mana, we get a an insect that does not fly, a wasp that does not fly. Got wings, don't fly. I'm guessing they just probably couldn't fit it on the card. It has modular one. Now the modular ability came out in original Mirrored and Block in actual Dark Steel, and it's always followed by a number. What modular means is there's modular in, and it means this comes into play with n number of +1/+1 counters on it. When it's put into a graveyard, you may put its +1/+1 counters on target artifact creature. So that's what modular means. So this comes into play with 1 +1/+1 counter. But then, if a modular triggered ability would put one or more +1 counters on a creature you control, that many +1 are put on it instead. So we want to keep Zabaz alive. And then for a red, you can splat your own artifacts. Yay! To force trigger that modular. And then for a white, Zabaz gains flying. So we got to work to make it fly. Anyway, modular is where I started with the deck. And in keeping with the tradition that they set, typically anything with modular has the word Arcbound in it. Like Arcbound Stinger, Flying Modular 1. Now, they all have varying different abilities. Arcbound Slith, it's one of my favorites. It's got Modular 1, but each time it hits somebody, it gets bigger. It gets more counters. And you don't really lose those counters because as long as you have another artifact creature, you can just keep bouncing them from one to the other. The Ozolith would be great, I think, maybe. Yeah, because there's other stuff that's 1/1 counter focused. I don't have one, but uh, I'm not going to say Arcbound every time because there's like 20 of these. So here's the new ones: Shikari, Slasher, Tracker, Whelp, Prototype, Cavalier, Mouser, and then we go into the older ones, back to Darksteel. The Arcbound Hybrid, Crusher. I like this one. Whenever another artifact comes into play, it gets a counter. The Fiend. During your upkeep, you can move a counter. That's pretty cool. Lancer's got a first strike. The Bruiser, 3. And then the Worker. So those are the modular Arcbound cards. Of course, we also got the new land, the Power Depot, that has modular on it as well. So that was it for the modular stuff. So I kind of had to, pick up from there. So let's get to our mana rocks, which they are all mana rocks. We have a bunch. Boros Key Rune. Now, the reason why I like the Key Runes in this particular deck is if you are caught without a artifact creature, you can turn the Key Rune into one. Commander Sphere, Soul Ring. Okay, is it just me? I love Ornithopter of Paradise. For 2 mana, that seems pretty good. Yeah, it's sick when you play it, but it seems pretty good. Fire Diamond, Boros Locket, Boros Signet, Marble Diamond, Palladium Mirror, Seer's Lantern, Boros Cluestone. I am counting Foundry Inspector as mana ramp because it does reduce the cost of everything. And then Strixhaven Stadium. Now, I figure we're doing 1/1 counters with our modular creatures. And we can probably do, we might pull off a stadium thing. Yeah, I don't know. I put the Throne of Geth in there because it could, depending on how you draw, you could get this Voltron thing where you build up this artifact creature huge with all these counters, and if that's your game plan that particular game, Throne of Geth's going to help that out to where you can sacrifice those other, have a sacrifice outlet to put those modular counters on a different one, and you get to proliferate out of the deal, which is what made me include like the Magistrate Scepter and the Energy Chamber. I didn't go real deep on the Energy Chamber tech, because there's about 5 cards that help that out. Some card draw and Thrill of Possibility, Faithless Salvaging. Now, I only have 4 creatures that are not artifacts. We have Enwin Bonkin, giving all your modular creatures first strike, because they all have +1, right? Or anything. And then we have High Sentinels of Irration. It gets +1/+1 for each creature you control with a +1 counter on it. And then you can manually dish out counters. So that seemed like where I want to be. Goblin Welder. Is this not perfect? So you've got one Arcbound creature in the yard, one modular creature in the yard, one modular, or say 2 modular creatures in play, and you can just swap 2 of them back and forth, getting those triggers and mounting up the counters on the 3rd. It's beautiful. And then Hellkite Igniter, because it's just too good not to play. I didn't have that big of a air defense here, so Hellkite Igniter, 5/5 flying haste, but that fire breathing ability, the number of artifacts you control, we have a bunch. So let's get into the artifact creatures. Solum Simulacrum, of course, that probably should have been with the ramp. Sandstone Oracle, not a bad target if that's all you've got, right? Mount up counters on a flyer. Meteor Golem. Shimmermere is going to make them all flashy. Chief of the Foundry acts as a champion. The Caprichrome, Devour Artifact, that's real good. Because you get the you get the +1 counters for what it devoured, and then if it devoured some Arcbound stuff, you're going to get those modular counters as well. So, yeah. Bosch, another good way to sack stuff. Just throw it at people, right? Monoskelion, probably should have used Triskelion. This is the first deck I've put Monoskelion in, and it will probably be the last. I don't like having to pay the mana to remove the counter. I don't like that at all. But for this style of deck, it can just be a big beater. But like I said, I'm not thrilled with it. I didn't notice the payment for removing the counter, and that's what makes it just not good enough in my opinion. Scrapyard Recombiner. Oh. This one does have modular. Huh. Okay. Fits the theme, but it's also a sack outlet, and it doesn't have Arcbound in the name. I guess that's why it didn't register to me. Extruder. Sack an artifact, put a counter on a creature. It's not bad. It's not a great card, but, it's got Echo, so you got to pay for it twice. Esper Sentinel. Opponent casts their first down. We all saw how... we saw this in action on game nights, But it's pretty good. And then our last creature, we have Cataclysmic Gearhulk. It's just, sometimes you need that panic button. And it being an artifact creature, you're not that scared to blow up all your modular stuff because you can just mount the counters up on this thing. Now, before we get to removal, I got 3 weird cards here. Not really weird, but just don't fit in any. Bring an artifact back. It regrows an artifact for a mana. Together Forever. Not only do you get 2 counters when you play it, which, 2 mana, 2 counters, not bad. But that activated ability there, for a generic mana, you choose a creature with a counter on it, which is probably most of what we're going to have, right? When it dies, return that card to owner's hand. If you've got enough mana, you can bring, you can come back from a board wipe. Or you activate it on your Arcbound. When they die, the physical card goes to your hand. The counters on it go to another. Yeah, it's really good. And then we have Blacksmith Skill. Permanent gains, hexproof and indestructible. If it's an artifact creature, it gets a little bigger. So let's look at our removal, shall we? Start off with a lightning bolt just because sometimes it's good. To rebuff the wicked, I love it. Nobody sees it coming ever. Card's been out 14 years. Nobody's ever seen it coming. Path to Exile, Condemn, Disenchant, Lightning Helix, Rip Apart, Boros Charm, Foundry Helix. Now, the only reason why Foundry Helix is in here, I know, is because it's foil, right? No. It lets you sack a permanent. And that's a thing that I tried to get enough of. KCI, if we had a KCI, it would probably go in for the Monoskillion, definitely. But that's a great card. And then Oblivion Ring. Now we have a metric ton of non-basic lands. We're going to go through just the dual color ones first. We have the Windscarred Crag, Stone Quarry, Alpine Meadow, Boros Garrison, Battlefield Forge, Boros Guildgate, Temple of Triumph, Rustvale Bridge. How do y'all like those dual artifact lands? I like that they're common, that's for sure. We have Thriving Bluff, Vivid Crag, Vivid Meadow, Command Tower, Evolving Wilds, and Terramorphic Expanse. Now we're going to get to the meat and potatoes part of the blend. I've got the Great Furnace and Darksteel Forge in there just because they're artifacts. Then, Forge of Heroes is not bad. Choose target commander into the battlefield, put a 1 counter on if it's a creature. Our commander costs 1, so, why not? Forge of Heroes seems perfect. Temple of the False God. We have such a high colorless count in the deck. I felt safe running it in a 2-color deck. Rogue's Passage for that Voltron shenanigans. Sequestered Stash. You can get an artifact back from the yard. And then our last one is the Ruins of Oran Reef, in case you plop out multiple colorless creatures. So that is it for this particular deck. Now, I did say that I would talk about, if y'all would notice, here, this makes the 3rd video, I do believe, with this particular frame. What that is it's an overshield. Like, okay, so we've got our Pro Fit or Perfect Fit, whatever you choose to call it. This one is a side load. So we put it's clear, in your regular sleeve, and then you put your sleeve. These were designed, these overshields, were designed to protect the sleeves. Because some of these sleeves, you play with them and, but it goes in. I only triple sleeve the commanders because I figure they need to stand out from the board. Now, I was using these. You can tell that these have seen some play. I have used, they're kind of dull when you put a card in them. And because all of them that I have, I used back when I was triple sleeving everything, right? So I like that little scroll work design. But when I bought that the inventory from that game shop, I found in there, I was just going through. I find stuff every other day in there. That's what it looks like. Ultra Pro makes some now. Those were called character guards, the previous ones I used. But these are printed deck protector sleeve covers. That's what they look like. I've had several people ask me. It was the reason why. And I do kind of like the little scroll work. It's real close to an altar sleeve thing, but it's actually not. It's on the outer shield, so that is what that is. So we will put Zabaz up there. This is one of those decks you got to have a a bucket of dice to play, right? With all the counters. So that 722 is done. We're going to put it up, and that's what I've got for today. So I'm all crooked. I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think. But right now, we're going to go ahead and shuffle and cut.